Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm taking a look at this, the Airfix construction kit of the Aston Martin DB5. So join me as I get stuck inside this box and see what we've got. So this is a 1/43 scale model, as it says up here, with an item code of A68230, and this was one of the Lidl UK limited editions June 2026 products, which I think coincided with Father's Day here in the UK, which means that's kind of where they went with this retro artwork on the top, which is reminiscent of the older style from the 50s and 60s, which Airfix used to use. I don't mind it. I think it looks quite cool, and I have been told this was designed by an actual person using digital artwork techniques. And as you can see bottom right, 8+ is our age. It does indicate that we have some included paints, etc. as well. Lidl technically advertised this as a starter kit. I would argue that it's a gift set, but actually compared to all of the other kits that Lidl released, this is actually a starter set that Airfix has released, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Flipping over to the back, you can see we've got our single paint scheme included, which is printed in full colour, and we have a licensing sticker. Decals are manufactured by Cartograph, so their logo is apparent there, and we have 4 paints included. We have tooling information, so the tooling for this design is from 2023 and this release is 2026, so it is it is the most recent kit from Lidl's range, or Lidl's selection that they had available to sell. All the other ones they had on sale were considerably older. I think the Hawk being a mid-2000s, being the next closest in age. So this is the most recent one. This should hopefully be the highest quality one. This thin edge has some information about the actual Aston Martin, as well as indication of the different paints and things included, and a skill level of 1. As I mentioned, this is actually designed for a beginner, so it has a skill level of 1, indicating that it should be easy. And on the other side, we have some safety warning information, whilst on the thin edges, we have the same information we've already been presented with. I've never actually experienced this kit, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like. Let's get everything out, and I think I'll begin with the accessories. So we have a number 2 brush from Humbrol. That one doesn't look too bad. These are generally okay. Not great for large areas because they're quite fine, but also not fine enough for really fine detail work. But yeah, they're synthetic and they work okay. We have our bag of paints. Let's have a look inside of there. Let's check that they're all usable. 1 tube of poly cement. This is the Humbrol one. Humbrol's name is missing on it, but it is basically the same. And you can see that it is good. It's good to go. Yeah, we've got liquid glue in there. Not the best cement in the world, but it works. And if that's all you've got, then that's good enough. 118, I think, is like a matte wood color. And if we open it up, that's good to go. There was a problem a few years ago where the paint pot design meant that the paints would dry out, but recently they swapped to this design with the flappy tops, which means that they're actually in better quality. 33 is a matte black. That's good as well. We have 11, which is a metallic silver. It is liquid, but it needs a mix. So it does need a little bit of reviving. However, that being said, I don't think that the Humbrol acrylics are good in the metallic area. They don't quite have the pigments that they should have, or sort of the sticking power. 129 looks to be like a light grey. So if we have a look, that's started to congeal. There is liquid in there still, so it does just need mixing and reactivating and blending everything together. It has separated out, so that will just need a little bit of reviving, but it should be okay. Of course, you could paint this whatever colour you wanted if you preferred to do so. So those are the accessories, and then we come on to our actual instructions. And as I mentioned, gift set. It says it's a gift set, not a starter set. Although technically this one could be considered a starter set, but I'll talk about that in a bit. If we turn over the page, we have a key to the different symbols that we might encounter. We have to keep opening it up, and then we're met with our assembly instructions. These are the higher quality assembly instructions because they're the most recent one. Being a 2023 kit, obviously they've invested a little bit more time into these ones. They've improved them. We have a sprue map, which tells you where the parts are. We have different elements picked out in color. We have the areas where we need to put cement annotated, which is completely different to how all the other Lidl kits were because they were much older toolings. This one being designed specifically for beginners. Add your chairs inside of your car. Steering wheel goes on. There are a couple of decals there. We add that on. Side panels go on. Turn it over. Add our axles. Add the elements of our chassis. continue. I think this is part of the engine and the exhaust system. We have our front grille, goes onto our body. Clear part goes on, clear part goes in. Flip over, add that onto your body of your vehicle. We have lights. We have our bumper, rear bumper, wheels go on. The wheels are made, actually carry on this way, make the wheels, then add them on, and then you're done. It appears that the window on the side is down permanently, which is a little bit annoying. I would have preferred, is there no clear part for that window? That's interesting. I would have thought there would have been a clear part for the window, but there isn't one. That window is always down. So if you were going to spray paint the entire outside, you'd have to mask that. And that's it. That's the instructions. Much easier to follow, much higher quality than any of the other instructions that we've seen from any of the other Lidl releases as part of this kind of range. That brings us on to the decals. Decals wise then, our cartograph sheet. There is a big fingerprint, actually. I don't know if the light will catch it. There's almost like there's been a watermark and someone's fingerprint been left behind. I've literally just taken off the paper. So that was underneath the paper. So that was whoever printed it in the factory, perhaps, has left a fingerprint on there. It's not going to detract from the quality of the decals. They look to be printed quite nicely and should apply. Just a little bit of attention to detail there. You only get one license plate for this, which is a bit of a shame, bearing in mind that the Land Rover we saw came with 5 license plates. This one only comes with the 1, so you've only got the 1 reg number to pick. But the decals look okay. This brings us on to the plastic parts then. And being a 2023 tooling, I'm expecting it to be pretty decent. But given that time frame, there's probably something you can notice, and that is that there's no outside framework to the plastic parts, which is a bit annoying because you could end up with them coming loose. The clear parts do have a external frame. It helps keep them nice and sturdy. So clear parts then, they're okay. They're not bad. They're nice. They're pretty clear. You can see through them quite nicely, which is decent. A slight scuff on mine there. That's a little bit frustrating, but I'm not going to do anything about that. Not really anything in the way of flash. Yeah, clear parts are pretty decent. Shame that there's no windows for your doors. They look like they're going to have to be continuously rolled down, or you'll have to manufacture one yourself. Because including that as an option would have been good. I can't imagine that this car didn't sell without windows on the door in real life. But yeah, clear parts look good. Then this brings us on to the main body. We have 1, 2, 3. Well, actually it's more like 2 plastic runners and then a body shell. No frame around the outside, which is a little bit frustrating, but that's typical of the starter kits that Airfix designed in the early or mid 2020s. Let's start off then here. Something I didn't discuss in other unboxings was the greasiness of the plastic, because none of them felt particularly greasy. But you can see in this one that we have mold release on the roof. So they've put quite a lot of mold release on there to help it not stick to the mold, which means that this is quite greasy and it will need a little bit of cleaning, so perhaps a wash in some warm soapy water. Body shell comes as a single piece though. It's molded to quite a good quality. The details are quite nice, recessed panel work in places, little molded details on the lights there. Yeah, that's quite decent, nice and crisp. Just needs a bit of a wash. This sprue then has our seats, quite nicely detailed, the grille, door, internal parts, I think those are. Parts of our chassis, our main body, that's like our dashboard and controls. Quite crisp moulding again. Ejector pin marks don't appear to be on any visible surfaces, which are good, but that's, you know, what I would expect from a 2023 tooling. And then this final sprue, a little bit of engine detail plus our exhaust pipes. The seats are quite nice. They have quite a little bit of a, almost like a texture to them. Our other details here, bumpers and things, steering wheel. Even the steering wheel has a little bit of detail on it, which is pretty cool. And if we flip over, same kind of deal. Ejector pins are on this side, hopefully not visible. Our wheels have like this spoke detail, which is pretty cool. They come in 2 parts. There is a bit of tread detail on the tyres. Not bad. This looks quite nice. It is generally like a modern tooling. It looks decent. It does need a little bit of a wash to clean up the greasy mold release that they've used on it. But I wonder if they add extra to these ones because they want to preserve them for as long as possible, bearing in mind that they are the most recent toolings. So yeah, let's wrap this one up. We had 1, two dark grey plastic sprues, plus our body shell as a single part. Quality quite nice. Ejector pins are hidden by the looks of it on surfaces, so not going to be visible. Not really anything in the flash area, but just a bit of mold release that I'm cleaning up. Clear parts are very nice. A little scuff on one of them, but for the most part pretty well molded. No flash, but a bit disappointing there's no side windows. We had a set of decals, which again are printed pretty well. Big fingerprint on them for some reason though. A bit disappointing there's no option of different registration numbers, but you know, that's the decision that Airfix have made. We had our instructions, which are the better quality of all the instructions we've seen from the Lidl releases that were out in June 2026, which I'm sure any of you who may have built the actual starter set version of this kit, they'll be familiar with. Paints look usable, might need a little bit of reviving, a little bit of mixing, but they're good to go. Paintbrush is okay, and tube glue is, well, if you've got it, it works. Color painting instructions are printed on the rear, which is really good. Helps to avoid any ambiguity, and comes in this retro kind of artwork box, which I don't mind actually. I think it's all right. So talking about this kit then, we already know it's a 2023 tooling and release, and it's been available since then as a starter kit in the Airfix range. So since this has been introduced in 2023, this has been available for £14.99, so let's call that 15 quid, and it's the exact same kit. It's the exact same kit, just in a different box. It's the same marking scheme, it's the same license plate number, I think it's the same colour of paints, so it's the same kit. It is the specially designed beginner new tool starter kit that Airfix has in their range. This kit being released in 2026 in Lidl was retailing for £6.99, which means it's almost, well, it's effectively half price. It's slightly better than half price for the exact same kit, which is, out of all the kits that Lidl had in at that time period, this is the, like, objectively the best value one, because it's an exact copy of something that Airfix currently has, and it's effectively half the price. And it's also their most modern tooling up to their modern standards, which is mental, because if you went and got this kit and this was your first example of Airfix, you'd go, wow, that's really impressive. And then you go and get this kit, which was the 1950s, 1958, 1957 Comet. They are worlds apart. I mean, even if you went and got the Gazelle, if you remember, I'd looked at this one. That one, I think this one looks tattier than that one. So the way that Lidl and Airfix did this, I like the idea. I just don't know if the execution was quite right, because you've got brand new-ish, well, mostly new, only 3 years old designs mixed in with kits from a completely different generation. If you bought that one as your first kit, as a starter kit, which is what Lidl's considering them to be, and then compared it to that one, they are wildly different. And like I say, first impressions can be made only once. And if you bought this one, you might be disappointed. And if you bought that one and then this one, you'd be like, why are they different? So yeah, I just think that maybe, you know, the idea was good. I like where they went with this. I just don't necessarily think the execution was quite right. They did have other kits in the starter set range, which they could have used. They've got the Spitfire, they've got the F-35, they've got the Typhoon, they've got other vehicles like the Land Rover, which would have all been perfect. Of course, they probably would have been more expensive. But yeah, this kit, if you managed to get one of these, I would say that this was the best value and the best quality out of all the ones that Lidl had in for £6.99. And with that, I think I'm going to leave this one here. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of my unboxing review and if my assessment of this kit was fair. Don't forget that we do have a Model Minutes Model Club, and if you'd like to join these guys on screen and get exclusive access to early videos and other perks, check out the links in the description. Massive thanks to these Model Club members for the extra support they give me, allowing me to create consistent content. There are other ways to help support the channel if you'd prefer, but the best way to support me for free is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.